All right. Well, that was a very strange game. That you just don't want to lose those types of games that are back and forth runs, and ultimately in those games, the team that ends up winning feels pretty good, like they survived something, and the team that loses feel like, man, we let a lot of opportunities slip away from us, and that was the Celtics tonight, who just let what should have been a not an easy win, but a win they should have had because they're better than the Spurs. Just let it slip away from them in large part because they would go through these lulls during this game where they just weren't playing any sort of cohesive basketball, like not paying attention to where they threw the ball, not defending the paint at all, just like giving up easy baskets, letting the Spurs go on a ridiculous run to end the second quarter where the Celtics weren't even trying. Just looked like the Celtics were ready to just walk off the court and go to the locker room. Like they stopped playing the first half with 2 minutes left to go in the first half. It was bizarre, and ultimately that run is what propelled the Spurs to a victory tonight. So I really think the Celtics only have themselves to blame for this loss. Despite some bright spots of Tatum and Brown playing well and playing well off of each other, it's just not a game they should have lost, and it's a game that you might look back later on the season and say, man, why didn't we pick up that win on the road? Why couldn't we, keep some momentum going, especially when your next game is against the best team in the NBA and the Lakers? So it's not like you have it eases up here. I mean, this was a game when you have a tough opponent coming up on your schedule. It's important to make sure you take care of business against the weaker opponents. You don't want to keep going on these losing streaks, and that's what it's been like for the Celtics this season. They can't string together long stretches of positive play. So I think it's been madly frustrating for fans and probably for the players in the team too. I'm going to start by, well, I mean, I've been going for 2 minutes, but I'm going to continue by saying that I don't understand the rotations at all. The Celtics are playing virtually everybody on their roster. Almost everybody played in the first half. I don't see how a quarter of the way into the season that Brad Stevens can't figure out who he wants to play and who he doesn't want to play. I mean, you're seeing these guys in practice. I know they're not practicing as much as usual because of COVID restrictions, but you're seeing them in practice. You've seen them, plenty of these guys, the last couple of seasons, and you're seeing them play, 25% of the games. You should have an idea of who you feel comfortable playing. Instead, everybody's playing because Brad can't figure out who he wants to get in there. And I don't know if that speaks to a weak roster or a bad grasp of the talent he has by Brad Stevens, but it's one of the two. And it really creates a disjointed brand of basketball where guys aren't really sure of their roles, especially guys coming off the bench. Not sure what they're supposed to do out there. And it results in players not knowing the right spots to be, players taking the wrong shots, lots of defensive confusion, resulting in easy points for the other team. It's just no way to play basketball in the NBA at this point in a season. I mean, you should have this stuff figured out by now, and that's a large reason why the Celtics have been so inconsistent this year, is because their rotations, their lineups are inconsistent. I mean, you have Tatum and Smart and Brown. They're going to start every game, and now Kemba is. But like Tice has been in and out. Thompson's now been in and out. Robert Williams has been in and out. Teague's been in at points. It's Grant Williams has been in at points. It's all over the freaking place. In some games, Grant Williams is the first guy off the bench. Some games, like tonight, Carson Edwards was the first guy off the bench. He only played 4 minutes, but he's the first guy off the bench. None of it makes sense. It's and I'm obviously not a big Brad Stevens fan, and I criticize him when I can, because I just don't think he's the right coach for this team. And I think tonight was a good example that it's just so disjointed. It's hard to find chemistry when you're playing with different lineups and tinkering the roster left and right all the time. So, those lulls and those inconsistencies ultimately doomed the Celtics tonight. And if you look at the way the Spurs scored, most of their baskets were easy in the paint, not having to force a lot of shots, just were able to kind of do what they wanted to do, which is, really frustrating. And I didn't think Robert Williams got enough playing time. He was playing well when he was in there. And especially when you're seeing how many baskets are scored at the rim and in the paint. Robert Williams is the only guy on the team who can actively defend the rim. I mean, Thompson is strong, but he's not really a leaper, so he's not going to block a lot of shots. Tice is excellent when the other team isn't scoring in the paint and you don't have to ask him to be a rim protector or a paint defender. When he's asked to do that, he's just worthless on the court, and you saw that tonight. And Robert Williams needs to be playing those minutes instead of Tice. In games where teams want to score inside, Rob Williams needs to be in. Tice needs to play a limited role. He plays within himself, and when you have a good matchup, Tice is an excellent player. When it's a bad matchup, he hurts the team. Tonight he hurt the team. The Spurs scored too easily on him. He wasn't able to impede them at all. Rob Williams came in and did a couple nice things, but then didn't play enough. So I have some really, really big problems with the rotations and the amount of playing time, as I've had all year. This isn't a good loss. I mean, no loss is a good loss, but this is a team that you should beat, regardless of it being on the road. The team that you had, you had multiple leads over and couldn't finish them out. So frustrating loss for the Celtics. I see that Tachyon of the Source, your Spurs giving you heart problems. I get it. The Celtics have been in tons of tight games too, but it's a good win for the Spurs. I mean, they beat a team that's more talented than them and fought back from an early deficit and took advantage. So, good win for the Spurs, but bad loss for the Celtics. So frustrating. And then, like I said, it doesn't get easier. You had the Lakers, who are going to be frustrated because they came off a last-second loss to the Sixers tonight. So Celtics need to pick it up, figure out what their roster is, who they want to play on their roster, and figure it out soon, because this is no way to continue to go here. You got to lock down these rotations. The NBA, it's nice to have guys, towards the last person on the bench that you can have, but that's for emergencies. You need to have a pretty concise 8 to 10 at most. I'd like it to be 8-man rotation that you have, and the Celtics have yet to figure that out, and that's on the coach, and that's on Danny Ainge for building the roster. So they got a lot of work to do. Frustrating loss tonight. Back at it again against the Lakers on Saturday. I will talk to you then. Stay safe, everybody. Remember to give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. And wash your hands, mask, double mask, whatever you got to do. Let's get to the end of this COVID pandemic, people. All right, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you later. See ya.